Imagine, my friend, that you're walking peacefully with your beloved when suddenly a heavily armed man appears, running toward you with the intent to kill. This is exactly what happened to a group of people who resemble Smurfs. But who is this mysterious pursuer? And why is he chasing them in the first place? That's exactly what we'll uncover in today's story. But before diving into the depths of this legendary tale, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you never miss an update. On an ordinary day, a young man was walking peacefully with his beloved in the heart of the forest. Suddenly, a man armed to the teeth appeared, chasing after them, trying to kill them. The young man, who resembled a Smurf, she pleaded, "Please, use your guardian powers and get us out of here quickly. He's almost caught up to us." Suddenly, her eyes widened at something strange. When we looked closely, we saw a notification appear before them. It read, "Primary condition for activating power. Experiencing helplessness in summoning courage and facing danger." At that very moment, the young man fulfilled the conditions. His power activated, and he grabbed Malika's hand tight. "Hold on," he said. "We're running now." They sprinted through the forest with such incredible speed that they became invisible to the eye. The pursuer grew exhausted from the chase and eventually gave up. They finally reached their village and told the villagers that someone had been chasing them. Malika collapsed to the ground, overwhelmed and unable to compose herself, while her lover told, "Humans are coming from that direction." As soon as the villagers heard that, they all fled, except for one man who stood his ground, unafraid. That man entered the palace to inform the Sheikah of what had happened. When she heard the news, she said, "If your reports are accurate, then we need you now, Raiden." Raiden calmly responded, "Based on the young man's description, he doesn't seem to pose a major threat." But the Sheikah replied sternly, "We've seen how quickly he's developed. Even this human is a serious threat. It seems you've forgotten the past. The Sixth World War began due to a minor border dispute. Their goal was complete control over the entire region. They would have taken everything had we not united. The LFA, the Sea Folk, Ayat the Fugitive, the August, the Jelly, and the Dragons to stop them." She added, "To this day, we still cannot defeat them easily." The longer the battles among humans continued, the stronger and more advanced they became. That addiction to conflict drove them to madness. No one could ever defeat the infected among them. And the real disaster? We haven't seen a single human since then. That's why we need you now, Raiden. Kira and Mun are out on patrol, and the village is at risk. We need you to do what must be done before it's too late. Raiden, filled with sorrow, replied, "After all that happened, after everyone we've lost, I don't know if I can do this, Sheikah." She responded, "We all feel the pain of our past, but we can't afford to forget. You are the last remaining member of the elite guard, our only hope." Raiden, grieved to be the sole survivor of his squad, finally agreed. He drew his sword, checked its readiness, and left. The next day, he set out with a group of men into the forest to observe the strange human who had entered. While watching him, one of the men asked, "Is that the one?" Raiden replied, "Keep your voice down. Wait a little longer." He studied the man closely and said, "I want to strike without him noticing me." When we looked at the stranger, we saw a muscular human, holding a sword stained with blood, evidence that he had just slain a beast. Raiden watched from afar, drew an arrow from his quiver, and suddenly a notification appeared above the stranger, displaying his data. The arrow was aimed at the human, and Raiden said to him, "You won't feel any pain at all." At that moment, the human noticed the arrow coming toward him, and just before it hit, he managed to dodge it at the last second. The arrow struck a tree, and due to its immense force, it split the trunk in half. Raiden took advantage of the moment and said, "How did he manage to dodge the strike? Even with his low level, he's that fast." While the human was still standing, many arrows came flying at him, but thanks to his speed, he was able to dodge all of them, and they fell to the ground. Unfortunately, one of the arrows hit his leg. He looked at his leg, unaware of his surroundings, and Raiden seized the moment to charge at him. Suddenly, Raiden attacked with his dagger, but the human managed to block it with his sword. Raiden tried several more strikes, but as usual, the human blocked them all. Then, the human raised his sword and swung it at Raiden, who deflected it with his dagger. Raiden countered with another attack, which the human blocked again. This time, the force of the clash sparked flames. Raiden grew tense, unsure how to deal with his opponent. The human gently said, "If you don't want to die here, you better leave now." At that moment, Raiden realized he was in real danger. He looked at his comrades and ordered them to retreat immediately. While Raiden was fighting our hero, a huge bear suddenly appeared and attacked both of them, striking them fiercely. The bear also attacked Raiden's companions, and one of them fell to the ground. The bear approached to finish him off, but Raiden ran toward him, jumped on the bear, and stabbed in the back. However, when he tried to pull out his dagger, he couldn't. The bear noticed him and turned toward him. Raiden panicked and backed away, but the bear charged and knocked him to the ground. It approached to devour him, and Raiden was terrified, unable to believe this would be his end. When the hero saw the bear closing in on Raiden, he stood up quickly, grabbed his sword, and sprinted toward it. He jumped and stabbed the bear so hard that the blade pierced through its skull. The bear died instantly, blood flowing from its head. After killing the bear, the hero's strength increased significantly. Notifications appeared showing his level rising from 5 to 6, then to 7, until it reached 8. Meanwhile, Raiden lay on the ground, watching the hero's level increase with growing anxiety. He said, "I haven't seen him for such a long time." Raiden tried to stand, but his injured leg prevented it. The hero, now done with the fight, sheathed his sword and said, "You tried to kill me, didn't you?" Raiden was anxious, fearing he would be killed, and replied, "I didn't do anything to you. You tried to kill me, and I don't even know why. That's exactly what's been happening to me in the cursed forest." The hero raised his sword again and aimed it at Raiden, saying, "I gained 4 levels from the bear. I wonder how many I'll get from you." 1 week before all of this, our hero was talking to his friend, who asked, "Tell me more about the party last night." His friend replied, "It was amazing. The only thing missing was you should have been there." The hero said, "I got banned for life after the fireworks exploded at the last party." His friend laughed and said, "But the last time you were there, everyone loved." The hero replied, "They love me because they love you." His friend responded, "No way. They love you because you're awesome." The hero was happy to hear such kind words. He blushed and said, "If you keep saying sweet things like that, I'll stay embarrassed." While they were talking, a strange portal suddenly appeared. Jason didn't even notice it, continuing his conversation with our hero and saying, "Why are you standing there like that? As if you've seen our high school gym coach." Stunned, our hero couldn't speak. He pointed toward the portal and then ran toward his friend to warn him and pull him away. His friend, confused and innocent, replied, "That's not our high school gym coach." Grabbing him by the collar, he shouted, "Come on, run. Now." They both started running, but his friend suddenly stopped, shocked by the sight of someone lying on the ground. Our hero hesitated for a moment, then rushed to help the fallen boy. As he helped him up, the boy urged, "Run now." But our hero's attention was drawn back to the portal. He thought to himself, "Have I been watched this whole time?" Suddenly, strange entities began emerging from the portal. One headed straight toward his friend. Our hero quickly warned him, "Watch out, behind you." His friend turned just in time to save the fallen boy, and as he tried to run himself, disaster struck. A dark aura wrapped around his leg, pulling him down. He screamed, calling out to our hero for help. Loyal as ever, our hero rushed to him, thinking, "This time, I have to save him." As he reached out to pull him, a chain shot out from the portal. Though he managed to grab his friend's hand, the chain wrapped around his own arm and began pulling him in two. His friend was left on the ground, helpless, not knowing what to do. As the portal pulled our hero in, his friend chased after him, but it was too late. The portal had already taken him. He couldn't do anything to save him. The last thing our hero saw was his friend running after him, crying, devastated. Inside the portal, our hero screamed for help, but it was no use. The dark aura wrapped around him, covering his face, taking full control. He found himself inside a cube of darkness, his entire body consumed by the aura. Then suddenly, he collapsed to the ground. The darkness began to fade, and he slowly got up, finding himself in a cave with a strange light shining toward him. He asked, "Why is this light coming toward me?" As he moved forward, he discovered he was in the middle of a forest, shocked to realize he was still alive. "Okay, but where am I exactly?" he wondered, walking around until he reached the edge of a mountain. Looking down, he was horrified to see volcanoes, monstrous creatures, and an unfamiliar land, one he had never seen before. He was drenched in sweat from fear and said, "I'm way too far from campus now." Worried, he thought, "I want to get back to Jason. Is he okay?" Suddenly, he noticed he was wearing some kind of armor he didn't remember putting on. Even stranger, he had a sword strapped to his back. He drew the sword and touched the blade to see if it was real. Blood came out of his finger, confirming it was. A strange notification appeared before him. He tapped it to reveal his stats. Level 1, Strength, 90 magic points, 50. He stared, confused. What's going on? Is this some kind of advanced virtual reality? He noticed traits like patience and vitality, and something called legendary speech. He saw a skill named speed reading and wonder aloud, is that a passive skill or what? Holding his head, he muttered, "I don't understand anything. I don't even know how I got here or what's going on." Then he took a deep breath. "Okay, calm down. No need to panic." But suddenly, his face turned pale. Right in front of him was a terrifying creature, a transformed wolf, much scarier than a normal, and it was a level 8 beast. Our hero froze, terrified. Still, he pulled out his sword and stood before the wolf. "Stay right there," he shouted. Poor guy thought that would work. The wolf, of course, didn't stop. Our hero began swinging wildly in all directions, terrified, not even realizing the wolf was still far from it. Then, in a split second, the wolf lunged, baring its terrifying fangs. Our hero raised his sword, too scared to even look. But when he opened his eyes, he was stunned. His sword had pierced the beast's body. The wolf weakened, its power faded. Yet our hero screamed, overwhelmed and confused. It turned out the wolf had bitten his arm, but even then, he refused to give up. He draws his sword once again and strikes toward the wolf. When we look at him, we see that he managed to slice the wolf in half, its guts spilling out of its body. In that moment, the wolf collapses to the ground, its body torn in two, and he finishes it off completely. Then he raises his sword, soaked in blood, unable to believe that he actually did it. Exhausted from the injury, our hero falls to the ground, lying on his back. His health drops from 9 to 5, then a bit later it decreases by another 10, then 15. A notification appears, showing that his HP is now 65 out of 110. His stress level is 68 out of 90, and his magic points are 50 out of 50. His condition shows severe bleeding. He crawls until he leans against a tree, his health steadily dropping. He thinks to himself, am I in a nightmare or what? I wish I could just wake up and find myself in my warm, cozy bed. When he places his hand on his shoulder and pulls it away, he sees it covered in blood. He thinks, there's no doubt I'm going to die here. His health continues to deteriorate more and more. Then he says, I have to stop the bleeding. He rips his shirt and wraps it around his injured shoulder. Leaning against the tree, he thinks, I can't stop thinking. I feel so down. He mutters to himself, I've never felt this kind of pain before in my life. He remembers when his doctor used to scold him. Where did you learn biology, Rob? In high school. He was terrible back then, often replying with humor. I always handle things with a bit of humor. The other doctor pulls his hair in frustration, not knowing what to do with it. A second doctor gets angry and says, stop talking like that. Eventually, he passes the course and feels incredibly happy. But then our hero snaps back to reality, sad, realizing it was all just an illusion, while his health keeps decreasing. He lies on his side, holding his injured arm. No healing activates. He feels hopeless and says, I can't die here like this. He speaks to the aura and looks at the wolf. Did you throw me here just to let the wolves kill me? He gets up and says, I can't take all this while lying on the ground. He loses hope and says, I won't be able to leave this place or even overcome what I've seen, even after 1,000 years. Then he screams at the top of his lungs, no matter where you are, I'll find you. Can you hear me now? I'll even make you open a new gate for me. You'll return me home too. Suddenly, he sees the wolf's head next to him, blood pooling around, and his health continues to drop. Out of nowhere, a notification appears. You have defeated the mad wolf. Level up. New level, 2. Gain 5 stat points. He looks confused and says, what's going on? He puts his hand on his head in disbelief. Another notification appears. When HP drops below 25%, emergency activation occurs. All defense and stamina-based skills are boosted. Don't give up easily. Time remaining, 59 minutes and 42 seconds. Would you like to allocate 10 stat points to HP? He clicks OK, and another notification pops up. Acquired skill, hardened skin, requirement, strength 20. Reduces physical damage by 10%. Another one follows. Acquired skill, recovery. Requirement, strength 20. Heals 10% of max HP every hour. After unlocking all those skills, he suddenly loses consciousness. He dreams of sitting with his friend, watching a match. His friend says, I heard there's going to be a party on 4th Street. The hero replies, looks like it's going to be a wild one, full of drunken adventures. Jason teases him, I don't need people who just play video games and cause chaos. The hero gets annoyed. I'm not looking for trouble. Trouble finds me. Jason laughs and says, I doubt the world will ever know who set off those fireworks. The hero responds, if your dog found out, he'd never forgive me. Jason laughs again. We won't get the chance to make mistakes after graduation. We gotta take our shot now. He places a hand on the hero's shoulder and says, I know this is just a dream, but it's really nice to see you, man. I'm even in a rush to see you again. I'll search for any way to come back to you. His friend smiles and replies, even if you try, you won't see me again because you're already dead. The hero is shocked and asks, what did you just say? His friend responds, you're done. You're 10 meters underground. You're dead. And if you think you saved me, you're wrong. At that moment, our hero feels fear and denies what happened. His friend tells him that he was chained and descended to the gate as well. But our hero doesn't remember what occurred and says, I don't remember any of this. I don't even remember being chained. His friend shouts at him, saying, stop talking like that, even when speaking on his behalf. It seems like he's just a silent person unaware of what's happening. He then says to him, you look like a sad little dog, and sarcastically asks, did you really think Jason would be your friend? Afterward, he removes the necklace that our hero had given him and says, it's over. From now on, you're a person who has been surpassed and no longer my friend. As he throws the necklace on the ground, our hero is shocked and he starts laughing, then turns his back on him. Dark halos appear from his back, heading toward his friend, grabbing his arm and pulling him forcefully. Suddenly, the halo wraps around his entire body, and he finds himself waking up terrified. At that moment, we realize that everything that happened was just a dream. Our hero gets up, looks at his arm, and says, this can't be real. He removes the cloth wrapped around his arm and finds that the wound has healed. He moves his arm again and feels an overwhelming joy because he can move it. He looks at the amount of blood spilled by the wolf and thinks to himself, it's a strange world. He feels disgusted and says, although it's just a pile of mud, I can't take my eyes off. I killed the savage beast myself. Then, the foul smell of blood overwhelms him, and he covers his nose with his hand, feeling sick and unable to control himself as he starts to vomit. He gets anxious and wonders, how will the coming days be? At that moment, the lightning and thunder intensify and rain pours down. He takes his sword and heads toward the cave to take shelter. He looks hopeless and sad, saying, my body is regenerating very slowly. He plunges his sword into the ground and circles around, continuing, when I ascended to a higher level, I got a set of new skills. He opens the notifications again and says, this is the button I pressed earlier. Is this a cosmic joke? Whoever runs this place must be aware of the Earth's signals. He sits on the ground, feeling bored, and says, do I have to get close to death to get more skills? A notification appears, saying, do not go gentle. Remaining time, 1 hour. He responds, I'll take whatever I can to stay alive in this fake hell. He starts thinking, saying, this should be enough to survive. He wonders, is reaching zero the end? He sits at the edge of the cave and says, this place is full of migrating monsters, and they attack at any time. He adds, I have to leave as soon as possible. He feels cold and blows on his hands to warm them, saying, if I have to use force to get there, I need to kill more monsters. He remembers how the wolf attacked him, and he managed to defeat it with his sword. Then he closes his eyes and says, I'll think about it for a bit. He starts crying from the cold, wondering, why did the boys reveal themselves before teaching us how to make fire? Suddenly, the thought crosses his mind to check his pocket. When he pulls his hand out, he finds a piece of paper with something written on it. But when he looks closely, the paper is completely blank, and he gets very angry for being tricked. On the other side, the scene shifts to a different location, where there is a staircase leading to a secret underground site. As we enter, we see the girl, Kira, fighting monsters, including a giant ant attacking her. Another ant attacks her friend, who is holding a bow. Kira stops for a moment and thinks, my friend and I couldn't break into the maze together. She struggles with the massive number of ants and shouts at her friend to run quickly, saying, if you stay where you are, you'll be sentenced to death. Her friend, running, responds, I thought this raid was only for kids. Kira answers, but it's the first raid near our village. Her friend replies, I just thought I'd try to fight these monsters. Kira says, I'm also from the warrior class, and I'm determined to face them. You, the guards, and the warriors were at the front line. Suddenly, while they're escaping, Kira pulls them to a spot where they can hide from the giant ants, who get confused when they notice they've disappeared and start searching for them. Her friend says, I wish we could ascend faster. Kira replies, there's only one being that can do that. She tells him, I want you to trust me. This is far worse than anything this cave. And we thank the Thrines for not coming back to live in this land again. Then we return to our hero, whose story is in God's hands. He reacts when he finds written on the paper good luck and says, they are fools. They put me here, and all they say is good luck. Why? He feels angry, rips up the paper, and leaves it. He grabs his sword and says, I must find a way out of here quickly. An alert appears, informing him that his level is 2, with 126 out of 210 health points, 40 out of 90 stamina, and 50 out of 50 usage points. It adds a point because he's managed to stay alive until now. He is happy that his level is rising and says that it deserves to be celebrated. After a while, his stomach starts making strange sounds due to hunger. He then finds himself in the forest and says, my mission now is to look for food and water. An alert appears telling him that he should avoid drawing attention in the area and try to search for food quietly. However, our crazy hero doesn't listen to the instructions, and he screams at the top of his lungs, "Let's search for food now." Suddenly, something catches his attention, and he draws his sword calm. When we look, we see that he is aiming the sword at the frog in front of him to kill it. Indeed, he kills the frog to eat it and is hit with some of the frog's substance in his face when it dies. The alert tells him he gained 1 point for killing the frog. He then spots another frog and chases after it, shouting, "Come here, I won't let you go." Of course, our hero runs wildly to catch the frog, his feet hitting the rocks, and he falls flat on his face in the water while chasing the frog. After that, he's very happy when he finds himself in the water surrounded by frogs. He lies on his back, spits water from his mouth, and says, "I will never feel thirsty again." He then walks aimlessly through the forest, talking to the gate, saying, "Where are you now? I need to go back home immediately." While walking, he sees a group of rocks, stops, and wonders, could they be under these rocks? When he lifts the rocks, he is shocked and wonders, can I use magic? He sits on the ground and tries to experiment with something, but nothing works for him. He then walks and finds a slightly larger frog on top of a rock. Of course, our crazy hero doesn't leave the frog alone, draws his sword, and kills it. He then returns to doing pointless things, grabbing the tree trunk and saying, "Move now," but with no effect. He shakes the tree and takes the fruit on it to eat. Still, eating the fruit and the frogs isn't enough, and he continues feeling hungry. He says to himself, "Killing the frog doesn't affect my level in this trial, and I'm not satisfied with myself." Suddenly, he hears a strange noise from behind and asks, "What's that sound?" He discovers that it's a bird making the noise. He tries to hit it with stones, scaring it away as it flies off. Then, our hero continues killing more frogs, and his level keeps increasing. He becomes tired from killing so many frogs. An alert appears telling him about swordsmanship skills and listing the basic requirements, such as flexibility, which must be 10, and the time spent using the sword for several hours. Our hero doesn't understand much from the alert, but he gets that it's about the sword. He says, "I've never touched a sword before, and all that's required is some training targets to go from level 0 to level." Then, he hears another strange noise and discovers a squirrel on top of a tree. He says to himself, "This must be the cutest sacred creature I've ever seen." He raises his sword and strikes the squirrel to kill it, thinking, "When I kill this squirrel, my level will rise more." However, we soon find out that the squirrel isn't cute at all. It's a wild squirrel from level 3. As our hero stands still, the squirrel jumps down from the tree to attack him, but of course our hero doesn't give it a chance. As soon as it gets close, he hits it with his hand, and to make things worse, he slams it into the tree so hard that it bleeds from everywhere. Our hero feels disgusted when he sees himself covered in the squirrel's blood. Afterward, he's very happy when he sees an alert telling him that he's gained 3 levels, then 5 levels. He looks at his blood-stained clothes and says, "My effort wasn't in vain." Our hero, now feeling victorious, laughs at the squirrel lying on the ground and says, "You're dead, and now my level is high." He then leaves it and walks away, placing his sword behind his back. Suddenly, while walking, another squirrel jumped on him from above. However, this time the squirrel managed to bite him on the head, causing him to bleed from his mouth. Our hero tried to hold it by the legs, spinning it around like a madman until he was able to throw it away. He ran off, but of course, the squirrel didn't let him go, chased after him. As he was running, he suddenly found himself at the edge of a mountain. When he looked ahead, he saw volcanoes and a deep abyss where falling would mean certain death. He was puzzled and thought to himself, there are no protective walls in this fantasy world. Then, he completely forgot about the squirrel. However, the squirrel came from behind and struck him, but the foolish squirrel also fell into the abyss along with our hero. While falling, our hero grabbed onto a tree branch and held on. When he looked beneath him, he saw that the squirrel had fallen to the ground and died. Our hero felt fear and said to himself, "I need to climb now. I'm really strong and lucky to have a strong grip." He felt very sad, began to cry, and said, "My mom and dad have no idea I'm here in this place, and I miss them so much. I haven't seen them for a whole month." He remembered a picture of his parents when he was with them, thought, "I'll tell them everything that happened. I wonder if they'll believe me. Will I ever see them again, or is my fate sealed?" Then he wondered, even if I manage to get out of here, will I still be the same person who smiles and laughs all the time, or will I become someone else? As he pondered this, he started to feel a surge of determination and told himself, "I need to find a way to stop what's happening, and I need to get out of here." With renewed energy, he said, "I can make it out of this situation." He grabbed his sword, drove it into the mountain, and started climbing step by step, feeling as though he had to developed mountain climbing skills. Eventually, he made it to the top, feeling that his strength had increased. He threw his sword down, lay on his back to rest after the great effort, and said, "Finally, I survived. I thought I wouldn't make it." While lying there, the sun rose and the view was beautiful. He said, "The forest and the place here are so lovely." At that moment, a message appeared to him. You have gained a rare skill, resistance to sorrow. The basic requirement is experiencing deep grief. When our hero read this, he said, "I never want to lose this feeling," placed his hand on his head, and continued crying. He said, "This part of me, I must ignore all of this." He added, "I miss my friends and loved ones, and I long for them." On the other hand, we see another character standing in the water, fishing, while his girlfriend sits on the ground feeling. She says to him, "You're not going to catch any fish this way." He replies, "Why don't you try shooting them instead of what you're doing now?" She responds, "Why are you in such a hurry? The day is still long." The girl continues to feel bored until she eventually faints from it. Afterward, she likes the situation and says, "This place is really relaxing." Meanwhile, her boyfriend is still in the water looking for fish to catch. Back to our hero, he was attacked by a wolf which bit his sword. At that moment, our hero managed to overcome it and struck the wolf with his sword. The wolf had survived until now, but it showed the marks of our hero's blows. Our hero said, "I apologize for the accumulated aggression I'm about to unleash on you." Suddenly, the wolf became enraged. Its shape morphed into something terrifying, and its power increased. Our hero felt immense fear at that moment and said, "I'm not afraid of you at all." The wolf opened its mouth and attacked him viciously, but during its attack, our hero struck it with his sword, penetrating its body. The wolf tried to slash with its claws, injuring our hero's face, but our hero refused to give up. Finally, our hero managed to land a powerful punch, knocking the wolf back. As the wolf took advantage of the moment when our hero was on the ground, it grabbed the sword and began stabbing at his insides. When the wolf is killed, he feels his strength increasing, and indeed, when he becomes a wolf, his power continues to grow. He receives notifications indicating that his level is rising. Even scratches on his face start healing. At that moment, the wolf turns into a pile of blood, and our hero feels happy, placing his hands on his face to find that he is fully recovered. A notification appears telling him that his strength is now 14, vitality 28, patience 12, skill 11, perception 10, intellect 19, and magic has increased. He then considers adding 2 points to his vitality, saying, "I've reached 30, so a new skill might open up." He adds the 2 points, and a notification shows that he has leveled up from level 1 to level 2, with strength and vitality both reaching 30. The new skill unlocked is regeneration. Our hero feels disappointed, thinking he was expecting a greater skill. Then he decides to add 2 points to his intellect. After doing so, a new skill called quick thinking is unlocked, which improves his thinking speed slightly while consuming 3 points of energy per second. He is happy with this skill, saying, "This is worth the effort." And then he screams like a madman in the middle of the forest, shouting to the wolves, "Come to me now." He continues walking through the forest, saying, "No one can stop me." And as he walks, he is surprised to see 2 people standing there trying to catch fish. The 2 people are scared of him because he's holding a sword. Our hero is very happy to meet them and says, "Finally, I found people to talk to." But the 2 are terrified and run away. He chases after them, shouting, "I'm here to meet you, not to harm you." When he sees them running, he says, "That was a nice meeting." Then he walks on, feeling bored, and asks himself, "Why does everyone run when they see me?" He sits down and says, "It would be nice to talk to someone." Then he screams loudly, asking, "Can I get a skill that makes my voice louder?" But no one responds. He says, "Then I have to go back to the cave." He places his hand on his stomach and says, "I'm hungry," then starts walking, adding, "Why is it that whenever I kill a monster, it melts?" At that point, Raiden appears and starts shooting arrows at him. By chance, our hero trips on a rocky area, but he manages to dodge the arrows unintentionally. When he looks at the arrow, he is surprised to see it piercing a tree and splitting in two. As the arrows continue to rain down, he tries to escape, but unfortunately, one of the arrows strikes him in the leg. He stands still, looking at his leg, feeling a lot of pain, and suddenly Raiden appears, holding his sword to kill him. However, thanks to his speed, our hero manages to block the attack. The 2 of them continue exchanging blows. Raiden then delivers a blow to our hero's face, almost severing his head, cutting some of his hair in the process. Raiden raises his dagger to strike it, but our hero blocks the attack, although he's very scared, and says, "Can you explain what's going on because I don't understand anything?" Suddenly, our hero hears a strange sound sound coming from behind him. When he looks, he is shocked to see a huge bear charging at them. The bear looks massive and terrifying, and its level is 42. Unfortunately, the bear lands a hit on our hero and knocks him into a tree. The impact is so strong that our hero's head slams into the tree, causing him to lose consciousness for a few seconds. When he wakes up, he sees the bear attacking Raiden. He thinks to himself, either the bear kills me and eats me, or I kill it and gain more points. He believes his strength is sufficient to defend himself against the bear, and that if he kills it, his level will rise significantly since the bear is at level 40. Our hero gets up, grabs his sword, prepares to fight, and jumps into the air, swinging his sword with all his strength. He strikes the bear in the head, causing it to bleed from everywhere. After defeating it, his strength increases and his level continues to rise. He stands confidently in front of Raiden, who is now afraid of him. Our hero, thrilled, says, "I've never felt so happy in my life." Then a notification appears, asking him, "Will you add 20 points to your strength?" He asks him, "Are you going to add 20 points to your strength or not?" The hero quickly presses OK and adds the 20 points. Notifications appear informing him that he has gained a new skill, life-saving, and that his speed will increase by 30% of the maximum health points, which will happen every 24 hours. At the same time, all the wounds on his body completely heal and his strength continues to grow. The hero asks him at that moment, "Why did you want to kill me?" Raiden replies, fearing he might be killed, saying, "Strange things are happening to me in this cursed forest." He asks again, "I haven't done anything to you, so why did you want to kill me?" He raises his sword and says, "I've reached 4 levels from the bear. How many levels will I get from you?" Suddenly, the hero stops his weapon in the last moment and doesn't kill him. He is shocked by himself, saying, "What was I going to do now? I'm not that evil. I won't kill you." He puts his hands on his head, feeling the shock, saying, "What got me into this state?" Then he says, "I will never let this world." After that, he leaves him and walks away, saying, "I'm still human." Notifications show all of his information, with his level being 8, vital points being 415 out of 500, energy being 120 out of 140, magical power being 50 out of 50, strength being 14, health being 50, patience being 13, skill being 15, perception being 10, intelligence being 20, and magic being 5. He looks at his hands and says, "I don't know what's happening to me. Why have I become so savage?" He puts his hands on his face and feels disgusted with himself, even not wanting to look at himself in the mirror. Suddenly, while walking and not paying attention, he almost falls into a pit, but manages to compose himself and stop. When he looks from above, he says, "It looks like this place used to be an abandoned house." He feels curious and wants to go down to see what's beneath place. He wonders, maybe there's a gate under here that I've been looking for a long time. He recalls the events in his mind, saying, "After I was pulled in, I found myself in a strange and dark place. Maybe this is where I fell." He hesitates for a moment, but then decides to go down, saying, "I won't let fear control me. I will face this again until I return home safe." He starts descending, saying, "And when I get back, I need to buy my mother bread and bananas." While he's descending, the stairs suddenly break, and he falls to the ground, screaming. He is shocked and says, "This fall would have killed me last time. If his level had been 0, he would have definitely died." After that, he sits down, wondering, why didn't any monsters show up to eat me? Suddenly, he hears a sound behind him, so he quickly turns around and asks, "Who's behind me?" He runs toward the sound, and as he's running, he sees a light ahead. He decides to follow the light. When he reaches the source of the light, he finds a strange and very large door. He pushes the door slightly to see who's inside. When he looks, he finds a person lying on the ground, killed, and the hero is shocked and scared. We later find out that the person who died is Raiden. The hero says to himself, nothing is left of his intestines. He stands there, shocked, staring at the body, unable to believe what he's seeing. He doesn't want to make a sound and says, "I was even going to do this to the person I was going to kill." The kind-hearted hero, with his pure heart, approaches the body, apologizing to him, saying, "No one deserves to die this way." He begins to cry, saying, "If I could do anything for you right now, I would have done it immediately." He asks him, hoping he will respond, saying, "Do you want to be buried or cremated?" But of course, he doesn't answer because he's dead. The hero says, "If you were alive, things would have been much easier. I would have helped you, and we would have become friends." He continues to cry, placing his hand on his head, saying, "So you're the reason for the screams, or what?" As he continues crying, a girl appears behind him. The hero doesn't notice her. The girl raises her sword at him, and we find out she is Kira. She asks, Are you okay? What are you doing right now? The hero, in shock, doesn't respond, remaining silent and not understanding her words. He raises his hands and asks, "Are you speaking in English or what?" When she sees her dead companion, she starts crying and asks, "Are you okay?" All this time, she thought the hero was the one who killed him. Then she grabbed her sword and struck our hero, but of course, at the last moment, our hero managed to dodge her strike. He looked at her sword and said, "Why is everyone here so unusually strong?" Then he grabbed our hero by the neck, lifted him off the ground, and said, "You're a monster." She then asked, "What did he do to you to deserve this? Why are you doing this?" She screamed at him and said, "Answer me now, or I'll end your life." Our hero, afraid, replied, "You did this, I didn't do anything." She then hit him and dropped him to the ground. She started crying, feeling angry, and said, "Give me an answer now." Our hero, acting somewhat foolishly, said, "By the way, you're shedding your tears on me." And he reassured her, asking, "Are you okay?" She noticed his condition, and it seemed like his level was high, level 8. At that moment, she realized that our hero wasn't the one who did this, so she left feeling hopeless. Our hero said, "When I entered this place, your friend was already dead." She turned her back and said, "Go away, human." Our hero walked away, and she sat down in front of her deceased friend, feeling sad, holding his hand and asking, "Are you okay?" At that moment, our hero felt afraid and said, "A moment ago, she was calling him, and now I have to leave." Kira held his hand and said, "This is all my fault. I should have been more careful with." She continued crying and said, "I was too hasty in joining this fight." She added, "You're the only one who really cared." Then she took a piece of cloth to cover her friend's body and said, "I'll take you home so your soul can rest." At that moment, our hero spoke and asked, "Can I help you?" She paused for a moment and then said, "I told you earlier to leave." She then raised her friend's head and said, "You're weak and worthless. You can't save anyone." Our hero responded, "I know exactly what you're saying, and everyone here thinks I'm a monster." Maybe they're right. He then insisted again, "Let me help you take your friend home." After thinking for a moment, she agreed. Our hero said, "My name is Rob." She hesitated, wondering whether to shake his hand or not. At that moment, our hero gained a diplomatic skill. Eventually, she shook his hand and said, "I'm Kira." They continued walking together, and our hero said, "I don't remember ever seeing this place before." Kira replied, "Caves tend to change over time." Our hero said, "I think this is your first time here." Kira responded, "Abandoned regions aren't common near our village." Our hero asked, "So, did you come here just to take a look?" She replied, "No, that's not it. I just wanted to be useful to our village, because they love to remind me that I'm useless." She then asked, "Have you ever felt that way?" He responded, "Yes, I know the feeling of being a stranger." Suddenly, Kira said, "Are you trying to sympathize with me, human?" Our hero smiled and said, "Yes, what's wrong with that? You're the first person I've met in this cave." He then shared his story and said, "There was a man before who wanted to kill me, and I felt so alone that I even talked to my stick." Hero was surprised and said, "But I tried to kill you a moment ago. Why are you sympathizing with me now?" Our hero replied, "Okay, what's done is done, and we're in the future now." She then said, "All right, think about what happened until we leave this place." They continued walking, and our hero said, "I never realized this adventure would turn out this way." Suddenly, while walking, our hero stepped on a strange, sticky substance and asked her, "What is this?" She asked, "Are you okay?" But our hero didn't understand her and replied, "What are you saying?" She responded, "Our village knows all the stories about humans. We're not as foolish as you think. How are we supposed to forgive your kind of humans?" Our hero remained silent and asked, "So, what happened next?" Hero was surprised and said, "Don't you know anything?" He answered, "I haven't seen anyone here other than myself." Kira was astonished and asked, "So you don't know anything about the purification and the catastrophe that happened in Axon? If you need any further adjustments or clarification, feel free to ask." At the beginning, our protagonist was talking to Kira, asking her, "What does the word Axon mean?" Kira responded angrily, saying, "Axton, in the place we're in right now." When our protagonist freed his tire from the sticky substance, he told her, "Let's go now," and responded to her saying, "No, this place is called Berry." Kira got angry and said, "That's the name of the area, not the place." Our protagonist smiled and said, "Fine, from now on, I will call this place Berry." Kira replied angrily, "Call it whatever you want, but let me tell you that there's a pill here that is extremely poisonous, and you shouldn't eat it." Our protagonist smiled and said, "I ate that pill a little while ago." Kira then noticed something strange and asked, "So, since you're not from here, where are you from?" He answered, "I'm from a place called Earth." Kira was surprised and said, "I've never heard of this place before." And he replied, "It's not a city, it's a planet." When she heard that, she believed him and said, "What are you saying?" Our protagonist was confused by her anger. And then he added, "Can the people who were brought here ever leave or not?" He continued, "Am I the only lucky one here?" Kira replied, "It seems from what you're saying that you haven't grown in this world. The name you mentioned is what we use in our world, and the events that will follow could be dangerous." She added, "So, you have no connection with the humans who lived in this world?" Our protagonist responded, "That reassures me a little, but why did you come here?" He replied, "I came to confront the terrifying ideas." Kira said, "No, you came here to ascend." Our protagonist thought to himself, "I don't think I can ascend." When Kira asked him to show her the data plan again, he hesitated but then showed her his data. While she was reviewing the data, our protagonist said, "Continue judging me. I am weak." She replied, "Fortunately, your level is high." Our protagonist was surprised and thought to himself, "I never noticed that before," and then asked her, "What would happen if my level were even higher?" She said, "I'll reconsider my decision after I kill you." Our protagonist was terrified and said, "I don't want to die." At that moment, they kept talking without realizing there was an ant nearby. While defending himself, our protagonist said, "I didn't want to die. When I was outside, I used to kill wolves." As they were talking, they suddenly felt something strange, and Kira realized that there was a spider getting closer to our protagonist's head. He was terrified and said, "Please don't tell me there's something above me." At the last moment, Kira struck the spider and killed it, but there were still many more spiders around. Our protagonist was shocked to see spiders everywhere, and was so scared that he felt his soul was about to leave his body. Suddenly, one of the spiders jumped at him, and he screamed loudly. Kira reached him at the last moment, struck the spider with her sword, and saved him. Our protagonist, still terrified, said, "Don't leave me alone. I'm afraid of spiders." And this is exactly like Indiana Jones' phobia of snakes. Kira asked, "What do you mean?" He replied, "It's a character in a great movie." They continued fighting, standing back to back against the spiders. Kira said, "You need to take out your sword and fight with me, because I can't fight all of these spiders alone." Will our protagonist be able to help her? Will he defeat all the spiders? Will he be able to return to Earth? Will Kira and our protagonist remain friends forever? We'll find out in the upcoming episode, and I'm really excited to see what happens. If you're as excited as I am, don't forget to share your opinion in the comments. And if you want me to continue this legendary story, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you can stay updated with all the new content.